Hey friend, welcome back to RGD Gaming, the least toxic, most fun community in all of gaming. Today I have a special treat for you. We often hear about professional gamers or maybe see some of their clips, but it's rare we get the chance to know them better and who they are as people. They're often just crazy plays on computers or phones. I know my guest will hesitate to call himself a pro, but he cashed with his team in regional tournaments, had a manager, and scrimmed against some of the best Wild Rift players in the world. On the Rift, he's known as Platinum. He's currently boasting a 62% win rate at Challenger rank.
Just happy to be here. It's a cool opportunity.
Yeah, no, cool. I appreciate that. Platinum, tell us, a little bit about yourself. Maybe, where you grew up, you go to school, maybe relevant jobs, or, anything else you think that people might want to know about you.
Yeah, for sure. My name's Anthony. Most people know me as Platinum in the Wild Rift community. I'll start by saying this. I have a huge passion for gaming, and this is something I've always wanted to do ever since I was young, was play competitively. As far as where I grew up, I've grown up in a lot of places. I've moved around a lot. Um, as far as where I've been staying the most has been uh, here in Texas. I love Texas. This is my home now, so that's where I'm from. As far as education-wise in college, I did go to college for 2 years. I went to be a nutritionist, but I found out that wasn't really for me, so I ended up dropping out. Um, and as relevant jobs as to like that helped me get to the career path that I chose for Wild Rift, there's not really any. I've worked a lot of jobs, kind of a jack of all trades. Um, But like I said, back to Wild Rift, like it's always been a dream of mine to play professionally, and um, it's just a passion I have for the game that really drives it. Um, that's pretty much about me.
Nice. What was your first experience with MOBAs, or what drew you to this type of game?
My first experience with MOBAs was PC League of Legends for sure. A couple of my friends asked me to download it back in, I want to say, like middle school. Um, but before that, I was a Call of Duty guy. But the second I started playing League, I really fell in love with the game, and I should say the genre of the MOBA genre in general. I just like how it goes down, how it runs. The strats that go behind it. It's not just five people trying to kill each other. It's way deeper than that, and that's what I really love about it. Funny story actually about my name. One of my friends made my name "How are you, Plat?" when I first got into League of Legends, and he said it'll make sense once you start understanding the game. And I was like, okay, sure enough, it did make sense,
Right.
but I had to change it and shorten it to Platinum because people started making fun of me because I could never get out of Platinum Elo,
Oh,
and they're like,
no.
how are you Plat? Stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah, that's how I got into MOBAs though.
Do you play any other games?
Yeah. Like I said before, I have a real passion for gaming in general. So I have a large variety of other games that I play. Not so much recently. I've just been trying to work on myself more. Uh, but I do play a lot of COD Mobile every now and then. I even dabbled in some competitive play for that game as well, but it didn't lead anywhere. So now I just play it for fun. I also like me a nice horror game like Phasmophobia or Forewarned. I don't know if you ever played those games.
No, I've never even heard of those.
Those are like ghost hunting games. You just play with your friends. Pretty fun.
Oh, okay. You
Yeah.
play on the phone or computer?
Uh, those the ones I mentioned are for computer, but there's some phone scary games as well that I've played.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, just so people have an idea. You don't have to give your exact age, but like, are you teenager, 20s, 30s,
Uh, I
50s?
just turned 24 in February.
Oh, okay. All right. Just so
Yeah.
people have an idea of like how long, because you said middle school, so
Oh
knowing
yeah, yeah.
it's been
I've been
like
I've I've
10
been
years.
playing MOBAs for over a decade, so like
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you were at least trending to be a pro or striving for it and had got into the competitive scene with Wild Rift. Can you tell us, like, start from the beginning? How did that happen? Where did it start? What'd you do? And then, walk us all the way through that if you would.
sure. This is a long story, so I hope you're buckled in and ready.
Ready.
Uh, nobody ever reached out to me to become like part of a team, or nobody ever found me. I was never a top player at the time. I was just some guy playing the game, for fun. Uh, didn't really put much strat into it because I was mainly focused on PC League still at the time. Um, but it all started like any other dream as an idea, right? But I just decided to act on this idea and make it a reality. And to truth be told, I really had no idea what I was doing. I kind of just jumped right in, and I mean, no better way, right? Uh, so it all started when I joined a small Discord server back in April of 2022, and they hosted these small like inner custom games per region. Unfortunately, the server ended up kicking us, the little team that I made of low elo players, because there was no other North America teams to play with. So it was like our first setback, but I didn't want to quit there because it's something I really wanted to do. So it was harsh, but you know I get it. There was no other competition to play, so we moved on. My next step from there was honestly to find a new server to call home. I wanted some place where we could play and grow as a team, and you know feel comfortable and not having to jump servers, whatnot. So that's what I did, and I found a server called NXG, which would be the place that we would stay for the remainder of the time until we got the sad news that North America would no longer be supported for esports. Um, so that's where the real journey really begins, is once we get to NXG. Um, at this time when I did join them, they already had a starting team, so they allowed us to be some sort of an academy team, you could say, quote unquote. But mainly they just gave us a place to practice and meet up. That was pretty much the extent of it. Long story short, though, the main team did have issues within, so they stopped playing. And I saw this as an opportunity to be the face team of NXG. But unfortunately, at the time, I don't think we were ready just yet. We still had a lot of growing to do. Um, we still needed to smooth out the rough patches, whatnot. So I'll also add at this time that the NXG team gave up on having a professional team after their starting team, like blew up from the inside out. So it was just us doing everything ourselves. We would set up the scrims, we would, set up the practice times, we would set up the VOD review times all ourselves. So it was a lot for just us players to be doing and trying to get better at the game. But we ended up pushing through, not a big deal. This is around the time when I started getting my main players or my main team. It was kind of easy once you get one challenger. It was easy to convince more challengers to start joining, so that was really nice. Um, I really appreciate my mid laner. He was the one that kind of got it started. I don't want to name drop or anything out of respect for them because I didn't ask their permission. But this is about the time when I started getting everyone. So I would say,
where are we time wise? So April, like it kind of starts off. When does roughly
so
NXG, when did they sort of fall apart or?
so I joined NXG in March.
Okay.
So like a month after is when I found NXG, and then we were playing for them as just like like I said, the academic team, quote unquote, for about 2 months, maybe a month and a half before I ended up asking them. So this is when I began to set the five. We started practicing, trying our best to get scrims. At times we couldn't find good teams that wanted to play us because there was nobody that really wanted to play a nobody team. Because quite frankly, that's what we were. We had no background. So you can't just be a nobody team and jump straight to playing with the big boys,
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
Because honestly, they would just stomp you, and a team like that's not going to learn anything from stomping a weak team. It's not how it works. So,
Yeah.
so we played other servers guilds teams, teams that were just like us. I like to call it team with a dream. So we just played a lot of those guys, and from there, that's when we started forming our ground, our base of how we wanted to run everything. So after that, eventually, we played enough of these teams. We started beating them. We started stomping them. We decided as a team that we were good enough to ask the server owners of the NXG if we could take the main spot of the team. They said that they would give us a shot, and they started funding us wherever we needed. And they even got us a manager, great manager. Really loved him. He was well known around the Wild Rift community. He's just a good guy. So honestly, them giving us him as a manager really helped us out because he started getting us scrims with more known teams, and all around just a good guy. So like I said, that's when we started getting teams to scrim with that were better. And that's when we knew we finally got our feet in the door of playing competitively, excuse me, competitively with the big dogs. Although we still had a lot to grow as a team because these new teams definitely showed us that we weren't as good as we thought. Uh, and by new teams, I mean the well-known good teams, top 3 teams, top 5 teams, North America.
Okay.
So it really pushed us to get better, um, and that's what we ended up doing. We didn't give up. We just got humbled a little bit, and we kept moving on. Um, I want to take a moment right now in this part to say how important it is to have 5 players who aren't ego players on a team. Because if you have even just one ego player on your team, you're not going to go as far as you think or as you want to as a team. Because again, this is a team game, and if you have players clashing heads and not agreeing and not wanting to be at fault for something, you're not going to improve and get anywhere. And that's why I was very grateful that we were just 5 players who were passionate about the game and wanted to get better. And I'm not saying that we were nowhere near perfect. We definitely had our moments of doubt. But that's where like communicating and coming together as a team really helped. We wanted to see each other grow at the end of the day, and that's what I think is most important when it's coming to, being a team and or at least being a successful team in the competitive scene. So.
When you had mentioned they funded you, like, what do you mean, if I can ask, what do you mean by that? You don't have to give me like a dollar amount they gave you or anything, but did they like pay you to play or did they pay, what did you mean?
So they never paid us to play, but they would buy us like face cams, green screens, thumb sleeves if we needed them, new chargers, phone cases, whatever we needed just to play comfortably. And some of the players wanted to become streamers, so they funded whatever they needed to be streamers, stuff like that. If we ever got the opportunity to play on like the big stage and we needed to travel, they would have covered the cost for all that as well. So that's what I mean by funded. They also had people in the server who would donate, their own money to see the team, get somewhere because they really supported the team and wanted to see us grow, just like they wanted to see the whole community grow as well for that specific server. So I thought that was really cool. But to continue on to after I'm saying like we finally started playing these real good teams that kind of humbled us, and here we are settled down, 5 non-ego players ready to just take on the world. This is when we started competing in tournaments and putting ourselves out there. I can't remember an exact date of when our first successful tournament was, but I do know that Rift Masters was one of them, where we actually lost in the first round to a team called Suzaku. They're a bunch of really good players. But after that, we ended up fighting our way all the way through losers bracket, beating pretty much every team in the tournament through losers bracket, and getting another chance to play for first place against the same team, Suzaku. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but our team did gain a lot from that day, and it was a win in our book. Even though we got second place, we finally learned that we can, in fact, compete with the big boys in this region, and it was a very exciting day for us, for a team that has barely gotten their like foot in the door and didn't get to play as much together as all these other teams. I think we were accomplishing a lot in a short amount of time. So, I was really proud of my guys for that. So that's kind of how things went on. We played tournaments. Some we would lose right away. Others we'd fight to top 5. But like I said, as a team that's been playing from like 3 to 7 months in the span that we were doing tournaments, I think that's huge accomplishments for us, honestly. And I wish my teammates could see this now, but I'm really proud of them and everything that we've overcome. So.
Yeah, no, that's cool. What was the schedule like? Like how often did you practice? How often did you play? Like how often were the tournaments?
Cool, yeah. Schedules was simple. Once we had that manager, that made life a lot easier. We'd have our schedule out like a week in advance, like, hey, 6:30 p.m. to 8:30, whatever, you're playing this team on Tuesday, Wednesday. We're doing VOD reviews from this time to this time. Thursday, we got a tournament. Or, mainly it'd actually be like Friday we have a tournament, Thursday's your day off, relax. Y'all can do VOD reviews, whatever you want. Just get ready mentally for this tournament. Uh, so scheduling was super easy because I didn't have to do any of it. I just had to show up. That's pretty much it. What else did you ask?
No, it was just mostly the schedule. Like, how often were tournaments, maybe?
It's kind of hard to remember. I want to say probably like once a month there was a big tournament.
Okay.
There was also like small servers that would host like small tournaments. You could say those were like every other week. So every 2 weeks there'd be like a little small tournament with like a $500 prize pool or something along those lines. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so if Wild Rift ever decided to bring the pro scene back to North America, would you try to make a team again?
Oh, I would 100% do it again. I'm telling you, playing in the pro scene, it helped me become like the best player that I could possibly be, like mentally, strategically. It's just, I don't know, it was a great learning experience for me altogether. So yeah, I 100% would. I've actually been talking to some of my ex-teammates, and they're trying to see if I'm ready to get back at it next year, possibly. We don't know for sure if esports will come back next year, but we're kind of hoping, and we're still playing the game and being prepared in case it does.
Have you heard something that maybe indicated it might come back, or?
No, but we do know that games do this. They will take away their esports, and especially now that the game is growing a lot here in North America than it was, last year. We're kind of just betting on that it'll come back since, I guess the money's flowing back in as well.
Right, right. No, that would be great. I think it would be good for the game if they had the competitive scene as well. That was how I almost originally got into MOBAs, or at least became more interested, was watching pros play and then being like, oh, I want to, try that out. So
Right. They just need to advertise it a little bit better this time around. I feel like that's something they failed on when it was here. They just didn't give it enough attention. So hopefully they can fix that.
yeah, I hope so too. I mean, because they obviously have some things figured out with League of Legends, and you would think they would just do that model with Wild Rift and it would be the same thing, but just it's a little smaller. I get it. There's less players, but still effective. But
Exactly.
it was kind of disappointing what happened. To change gears a little bit here, I want to ask you what do you perceive, or what do you think is maybe the biggest issue or issues that Wild Rift has?
Sure. I think there's a couple issues that Wilder has. I want to say the first thing is probably matchmaking. But I'm going to elaborate more on that, and I'm going to start with it saying that Riot is a business, just like any other business. Their goal is to make money, right? I don't know if you played in the first seasons of Wild Rift, but that's when Diamond was still LP gain, and it was like plus 10 LP, minus 15. So you actually needed a positive win rate if you wanted to climb through Diamond, stuff like that. I feel like that's when the game was at its best, but it drew people away from playing it because they're not climbing, they're not getting the satisfaction and joy of, ranking up. And in turn, that's messing with Riot's pockets because less people playing, less people buying skins, less money. So what they did was give you the shields and take away LP and make diamond gems. So it's essentially just play enough and you'll climb and climb and climb and you keep playing to an extent, of course. But that's enough for the players to get their satisfaction of, oh, look, I'm climbing through diamond, I'm climbing through emerald, I got masters. I want to spend money on the game because I like the game, I want to keep playing it. I think that's like a really big problem with the game. But again, it's a company. I get that that's their goal. I wish that they would just go back to the LP system though, like it used to be. I feel like it would fix a lot of the matchmaking issues and actually put people where they belong, as in skill base. And lastly, I would say another thing that's kind of wrong with the game is toxicity. It For a seasoned Wild Rift and League player, toxicity is nothing new. you can handle it. But I feel like it ruins the game for a lot of new players that come in and kind of just destroys the new player base because they come in, they're still trying to learn the game and figure out how everything works. And then you have a player over here that is probably smurfing, doesn't even belong in this elo, and is just gonna, talk down on them and make them feel really bad for just playing the game and not knowing exactly what they're doing instead of, hey, this is what we should be doing right now. You can't be doing this because this is gonna turn to this, blah blah blah. But yeah, I think that's just another big issue that the game has.
To I I know you wanna elaborate on the first thing you said, but I wanna ask you a question about the matchmaking issue. Um, I wanna maybe give a little pushback here, maybe just get your thoughts on this. Do you think it's possible that there just are not enough good players to be able to make good matches, at a competitive level? Say there's only really 500 real good players in North America. Well, those players aren't going to be playing all the time, so you got to get guys like me in those matches just to fill in spots here and there. What do you think about that?
Good question. I haven't really thought much about that, but what I can say is I think there is enough players, good players, to at least fill like the Grandmaster and Master Elos with some solid gameplay. Um, I would say one of like the biggest flaws with that is they have in Grandmaster a 41 mark tick where you're in tier 2 of Grandmaster, but once you're there, you're still gonna get matched with masters and possibly even a diamond. I've seen it, and other grandmasters with like 700 games. And then I've had games where I've played with a bunch of really good players, and it was just a good game on both ends. Five really good players versus five really good players, and those games, regardless if you win or lose, they feel good because nobody's just running you down. Nobody's, dying right before an objective comes up. They feel like actual how the game is supposed to be played. And I've seen both ends, mainly more of the bad one, but I've seen them both, so I can't really say that there's not enough good players out there for good matchmaking. But I don't know, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's good. I was interested in what you maybe thought about it. But yeah, if you want to go back and elaborate on your first point.
Oh, about what right being a business?
Oh, maybe did you do that already?
Yeah. I was saying I think we should just go back to the LP system. I think it would fix a lot of like matchmaking issues and like I said, put people where I think they belong in skill levels at least. If you're not having a positive win rate, you shouldn't be in Grandmaster or Challenger. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I've seen people with like 49% win rate in these Challenger, but it has like 800 games. Like, that's another thing too is like, I also don't think rank really shows how good you are as a player. Because for that reason exactly. And then there's also players with like 45% win rate in Grandmaster and Masters. Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I can get behind that. At least a positive win rate to hit. Maybe a middle ground of it. I don't know that I see Riot ever going back to the LP system just because if you have all these people in Master and Grandmaster and now they're all Platinum, they're just probably going to quit the game, right?
Exactly. A man can dream though.
Yeah. But I could see them maybe making Grandmaster a little more difficult to get to, and Challenger impossible unless you're above a certain win rate. And I could, I definitely get behind them on that.
Like if I see somebody in Challenger with like a 65-70% win rate and they have like 300 games, I'm like, that's a good player. Like that player is consistent and just overall probably just a really good player. Like I can't get behind having a Challenger in my game with 49% win rate. Just doesn't make sense. Like playing like somebody in Diamond, it just doesn't make sense.
What's your do you have a cutoff where like, okay, if they're if they're X percentage, they're probably pretty good, and if they're this percentage, they're definitely bad. Do you have a number in mind?
I would say like at least 55% win rate. Like
Yeah.
give me a 55% win rate, like we can work with something,
I hit 54 this season. I was hoping you were going to say 54.
Hey, 54 works. 54 ways. We
No,
can
it's
round down. We can round down.
well, I'll be honest though. I don't think I should be in games with people like you. I don't think I could play against you, and I don't. I understand that my skill level is not where you're at. So, while I'm sure that I could get in games with you based on the current matchmaking system, I don't think that it's going to be a great game for you. Or not. Well, when you stomp me, it'll be fun for you.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't ever cut yourself short. Hey, I was a hard stuck nobody player myself one day, and then it's just taking the time to actually want to get better and learn, which is exactly what your channel is all about. So, bro, you keep pushing. You're gonna be one of the best players in North America, I promise you. As long as you have that positive mindset and keep moving forward, you're gonna be there.
That's what I'm shooting for. So I hope I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah, don't ever sell yourself short, man. It's a mental game.
Well,
Above all, I'm telling you, it really is. Because you hold yourself back mentally, you're gonna hold yourself back in the game. So
Well, I try to, find some balance. I don't want to come across as too positive, but I am like that 54% is really good for me. I was 51% forever. Like that was my win rate for all my other games. And then this season, after I have the channel and I'm starting to, teach and learn more, it's been so much like I've been winning, 3% more games or whatever it is. So
I love to hear that, man.
yeah. So no, but so I feel good about the 54 actually, but at the same time, I don't. I realize I look at the Challenger leaderboard and I see 55, 60, 65, and I know there's a lot of room for me to grow. So,
Got to crawl before you walk.
Yeah, right. Something I want to circle back to that you had mentioned is player toxicity. And it's something that I think I liked what you said about it, and it's something that my channel, like if you watch some of my videos you mentioned, and the least toxic, most fun community in all of gaming, and I really do mean that. I want to push for less toxicity in the game because I think it ruins matches, and for me, it's what ruins matches most often is somebody either goes AFK, runs it down, or just will not stop pinging and or chatting. And so hopefully people can start to realize that, we can't fix matchmaking and we can't make business decisions for Riot, but something we can do is control how we treat each other.
Exactly.
And if we were all friends, like say I'm in a game with you, I'm never flaming you, except for, casual stuff, like if you do something real
Yeah,
bad.
play flame, of course.
Yeah, but as friends, it's perfectly fine and acceptable and even makes the game better to flame your friends.
Exactly.
But, I'm never flaming you seriously or really trying to, attack somebody, which happens quite regularly. And so, I hope people can start to really think about this and that, your flaming does nothing to help the game. It makes the game worse for you, yourself, because it just sort of digs you in deeper. Like when you're like, oh, this person's terrible. Well, now you're not going to try to play with them. So even if they come to a team fight or you should gank their lane, you're not going to because you hate them or you just
Right.
love them. So I want people to start really thinking about that, and hopefully we can push for less toxicity in the game because it's really, at the end of the day, other than how we play, it's the only other thing we can control, and everything else is up to Riot.
Exactly. I would say though that you are taking on a very big battle. One man versus all the toxicity in North America, and I guess land too. You can include that. It takes one person, one person, start a movement.
Right.
I would say there's also a few other things because you can't always change everyone, and some people are always just going to be toxic in your game, right? There's nothing you can do about it. There is like a few things that players, as individuals, can do themselves to help prevent that person from tilting, yourself or your teammates. And one of the simplest things that has been told for a long time is just mute. It's right there. It's real easy. You just pull up the scoreboard, hit the little mute button, and you won't get his pings. You won't get his typing. That's just one simple thing you can do. Another simple thing is, if they're typing in chat and they're wanting to get like a reaction out of you, just like don't type in chat. It wastes your time. In a game where seconds matter, and you're spending this time typing a message doesn't really even matter. Just don't do it. Only type if it's something that's going to be helpful for your team. Like if you're pinging your mid laner's missing and he's going to go roam to bot lane, and they don't see your pings, like, hey, type in chat, like, hey, care for mid, roam, something like that. That's all you got to do. Just if you're not going to do anything that's going to help be productive to the team, then just don't type at all. And it'll save your game it'll save so many of your games from you getting tilted and just performing worse. I would say another thing too is there's a feature in the settings where you can turn off player names, and you can put just a champion or no name at all. And if you get to a point where you're in Master or Grandmaster and you start playing with the same people, and you see a name you don't like, it immediately tilts you. Just turn like those names off, and it helps a lot too. It just keeps you focused to what's in front of you, and what's on the map. Hopefully you're looking at the map, but you're not worried about who's in your game or whatever. You're just playing to win the game. So those are like 3 little tips that always help me when I'm playing in solo queue, to just keep a cool mind and play my game the best I can.
Yeah, no, I think those are good tips. I actually do have. I don't keep player names on. I just keep the champion above it, and so I agree with those tips that you said. So we're getting towards wrapping up here, and I guess, do you have, if somebody was like, okay, I'm either new or I'm hard stuck, whatever rank it is, do you have any tips for them that might help them get unstuck or improve or play better?
Sure. One of the things that I did, because you might not have the luxury of playing with 4 challenger players that can babysit you and teach you along the way, is going on YouTube and finding a content creator like yourself, providing some valuable, good information that can help players grow at a slow and steady pace. You don't have to start off as the best player. Nobody does. You just gotta take baby steps in. And I think YouTube and any other, like Twitch, watching other good players play as well and copying some of the strats that they may or may not do, I think that's a good start.
Yeah, I agree with that. Is there anything else that is on your mind that you want to say, before we wrap up here?
I just want to say I really do appreciate what you're doing. I love this game. I'm glad we have someone like you creating content for this game. It's been needing some fresh new content creators, so I'm glad you're here. I really just want to thank you today for allowing me to come here and tell my story, Mr. Petra, and about this wonderful game that we call Wild Rift.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and no, thank you for doing this, and thanks for coming on today. I believe people are going to find your story super interesting, and so thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it, and hopefully I see you on the Rift.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.